What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne Yang with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council has shot back at its Chinese counterpart over a new email tip line. Leslie Liao brings us more.
Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Office is reacting to China's Taiwan Affairs Office, which set up an email tip line asking people to report, quote, Taiwan separatist thugs and accomplices. China says it received over 300 tips within a 9-hour window. Complaints about everyone from Taiwan's Interior Minister Liu Shifeng to ruling Democratic Progressive Party lawmakers, prosecutors, and pro-independence Taiwanese influencers flooded in.
那我们认为这是对台湾内政的全面滋扰啊！它不但要干预台湾的政治，还要干预台湾的司法。那这不但凸显中共对台湾渗透统战的严重性啊，那也证明台湾确实有必要在各方面全面防范啊。
The Interior Ministry oversees immigration affairs, and what we're seeing is Taiwan feeling ripple effects from the departure of a Chinese influencer known as Yaya. Yaya was living in Taiwan on a spousal residency permit, but she was forced to leave the country. Taiwan's immigration officials said Yaya made videos advocating China taking Taiwan by force, which threatened national security and social stability. So this could be a reaction to her forced departure. But now 2 other Chinese influencers have had their residency permits revoked for pro-unification videos, and they're required to leave Taiwan by March 31st. Because of these recent cases, there have been reports of suspected hate speech and, in rare situations, even death threats towards Chinese spouses living in Taiwan.
到目前看起来就是一个孤立的事件，而且这位匿名人士到底是谁，目前也不清楚啊。所以我觉得台湾社会总的来说还是很有理性、很有秩序的一个社会。
Now, the Mainland Affairs Council says that Yaya could be let back into Taiwan in a limited capacity to visit family, but that's contingent on her no longer advocating for unification by force. Justin Wu, Devin Tsai, and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
What would you do in the event of a catastrophic emergency? Well, a new kind of civil defense drill is helping people prepare for exactly that. More than 1,000 people gathered in Tainan for the exercises that aim to include all of society. Reese Ayers reports.
Extinguishing fires after a massive explosion and rushing civilians to safety as a tsunami approaches. Simulations of disasters that pose very real threats to Taiwan played out in the southern city of Tainan at this new kind of whole-of-society civil defense drill. It's all part of President Lai Ching-te's campaign to better prepare the country for whatever comes.
我们目的是希望能够打造台湾社会的韧性，能够妥善的因应当大自然发生天灾地变的时候。
Over 1,000 people, a mix of civilians and civil defense experts, have joined the drills. But notably absent today is the military, which usually plays a big role in disaster response.
那主要是展现在地方政府及地方的民力，包括义警、义交这个民防，还有志工，他们对于发生灾难或是发生这个包括爆炸、包括海啸或是其他的复合性灾难的时候地方的因应状态。
One of the scenarios simulates an explosion at a tourist centre that injures hundreds of people, with much of the focus on response times and setting up medical infrastructure at short notice. More than just demonstrations, these exercises simulate real-life disasters, forcing the civilians taking part to improvise and act in real time as if it was a real disaster. And the people joining these drills say participating is their duty as citizens of Taiwan, a country under constant threat from the forces of nature and China.
因为因应就是说有一些比如说灾难的时候，那医院可能没办法正常运作，那需要把一些民间的医疗人力那集中起来做一些统筹的规划运用。
因为我们就可能真的会面对 战争的危险，当然是不希望有这种战争的发生，但是预防万一，大家 全民就是要互相扶持这样子。
Officials say this will be the first of many drills happening across the country as Taiwan does its best to prepare for the worst. Scott Huang, John Su, Jaime Okan and Rees for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. Democrats are demanding serious consequences after a Signal group chat blunder mistakenly added a journalist to a conversation about sensitive war plans. The Trump administration insists there was no classified information in the chat. That's despite Atlantic editor Jeffrey Goldberg releasing more damning messages. Rosie Greninger reports.
As the Trump administration attempted to downplay the contents of a leaked Signal group chat, the journalist at the centre of the storm has released more proof. Atlantic magazine editor Jeffrey Goldberg was inadvertently included in the chat amongst 18 senior cabinet leaders, discussing impending strikes on Houthi militants in Yemen. Goldberg shared a thread of messages with highly sensitive information, including details about the target of the attack, launch times, and specific weapons to be used. He claims he chose to publish this new information after the Trump administration attacked his journalistic integrity, claiming he lied about its contents.
But the mainstream media continues to be focused on a sensationalized story from the failing Atlantic magazine that is falling apart by the hour. We have said all along that no classified material was sent on this messaging thread. There were no locations, no sources or methods revealed, and there were certainly no war plans discussed.
The fresh revelations have prompted some senior Trump officials to acknowledge the debacle was due to human error, including Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who both participated in the chat.
Obviously, someone made a mistake. Someone made a big mistake and added a journalist. Nothing against journalists, but you ain't supposed to be on that thing.
But both Rubio and Gabbard continue to insist there was no classified information shared. That's something military experts and Democrats disagree with, saying the information could have risked the lives of both American service members and civilians if they'd been attained by a US adversary. Democrats are pushing for there to be consequences for the major security breach.
Secretary Hegseth has disclosed military plans as well as classified information. He needs to resign immediately. He needs to resign immediately, and a full investigation needs to be undertaken with regard to whether other similar Signal chats are occurring in this administration.
National Security Advisor Mike Waltz has taken responsibility for creating the Signal group, but claims he didn't have the journalist's number to have added him to the chat. US President Donald Trump has not signalled any repercussions, instead continuing to downplay the situation, labelling it not a big deal.
How do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do. Look, it's all a witch hunt. Here we are talking about some of the greatest business deals ever made. The greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works.
The White House says the National Security Council and Elon Musk's team are looking into how the journalist was included in the chat, still refusing to acknowledge the magnitude of the breach and pushing back against taking any meaningful action in response to this national security blunder. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
South Korea is battling its most severe wildfires on record. As the crisis continues, the death toll has risen to at least 24. Chelsea Wu has the story.
Flames engulf South Korea's southern region as devastating wildfires continue to spread. More than 20 people have been killed and dozens more hurt, 12 in critical condition. With strong winds fueling the blaze, authorities are scrambling to contain the worst fires in the nation's history.
새날부터도 한두 개 달고 막 동시다발로 막 왔었어요. 근데 그걸 딱 보니까 이게 이제 무슨 거기서 뭐 무슨 실내 체육관을 가라, 그 지역에 어떤 체육관을 가라, 그 바로 이렇게 해주잖아요. 그러니까 그거 보니까네 와 이거 진짜 이 하다가 진짜 전국이 진짜 불에 다 삼키는 게 아닌가 걱정도 되고 막 그랬어요.
The fires have displaced over 27,000 people, and around 500 inmates from a nearby prison were evacuated for safety. Thousands of emergency personnel and dozens of helicopters have been deployed to combat the blazes, but strong winds and dry conditions continue to hamper containment efforts. In the ongoing battle, a firefighting helicopter crashed, killing the pilot.
완전 폭파돼 갖고 뭐 날개고 색깔 구분도 안 되고 새카마요.
Wildfires were once rare in South Korea, but have increased in frequency and intensity in recent years. Experts say climate change is one reason behind the destructive trend.
기후변화 특징 중에 하나니까 이런 온도가 빨리 올라가는 거, 그 다음에 건조가 계속 길어지는 거, 바람이 계속 더 심해지는 거, 이런 것들은 다 산불로 보면 굉장히 위험한 요소인 거죠. 그렇기 때문에 우리나라에서 산불은 더 많이 날 수밖에 없고 또 더 대규모로 퍼질 수밖에 없고.
Some are now calling for stronger preventive measures and a more effective response system to address what they see as a growing threat. The wildfires are a critical leadership test for Prime Minister Han Duck-soo. He was reinstated as acting president just 2 days ago after a court overturned his suspension, part of impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol's ongoing martial law controversy.
우리나라에 주둔하고 있는 미군으로부터도 헬기의 지원을 받는 등 이러한 지원을 최대한 동원해서 진화 작업에 전력을 다하고 있습니다.
With flames continuing to spread and tens of thousands driven from their homes, the country's Forest Service has raised the national crisis alert to its highest level. As South Korea grapples with its worst natural disaster in recent memory, its government and people are struggling to stem the blazing tide. Luffy Lee and Chelsea Wu for TaiwanPlus.
Spring is in the air in Taiwan, and its iconic cherry blossoms are blooming up on Alishan. Visitors can see them via a special mode of transport. Tiffany Wong takes us there.
All aboard the Alishan Express. This 100-year-old train is chugging along the scenic railway in southern Taiwan, giving passengers a special view of the mountain's iconic cherry blossoms.
那其实简单的讲，我们是把我们的老爷爷火车头请出来，让他载送我们的旅客3趟。那所以它的运用，它不能像平常的一个交通每天运用。其实这个是很珍贵的火车头，所以我们大概只有在特殊的一些季节或是节日，我们才来使用。
Alishan is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the country, but the view from the tracks is not something everyone gets to experience. The cherry blossom train will only run 3 times this season, and it's a 6-hour journey up the mountain, but tourists say every second is worth it.
很新奇，然后那个樱花真的很漂亮，然后那个蒸汽火车在过弯的时候，那看出去，觉得然后再搭配风景，真的很壮丽，
玩不腻，还是想来。 来了10几次了，也是都会想要再来这边看一下，看它有什么变化。
The historic railway has been in operation since the Japanese colonial era. The carriages are made from cypress wood, and the steam locomotive was originally powered by coal, now modified to run on diesel instead. But maintaining the train is still difficult.
那其实修复起来非常困难，因为当初制作这个火车的一个设计这个火车的公司，其实已经都没有在营运了。那所以我们现在不管是材料啊，一些机具材料，其实都没有了，所以维修起来其实相当困难。
A relic of Taiwan's history, these trains have survived for over a century, and they're still running. And as time passes, they've outlasted those who built them and carried generations of passengers who have come to admire the view. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow us on social media for more of our stories. Finally, we take you to Bali, Indonesia for a sacred purification ritual on the beach. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, follow TaiwanPlus on socials. Pika!